Hey, I hope everybody's doing good. Looking forward to our session today. This is going to be a good time for all of us. We are going to go over real estate contracts. And I want to thank everybody in the group. You guys are unbelievable. The group is getting really big. We have almost 1,200 members in the group. So it's a great group. We're having a good time in here. A lot of people are passing the exam. There's a couple people that are very, very close. And our goal is to get you through it, right? That's what we want to do, get you through that exam. If you don't pass the first time, don't stress. We'll get you through it. We're going to have a lot of practice sessions in here. We're going to try to do as many as we can. Also, we have our Cram sessions. We have study halls. And we try to post quizzes and flashcards as much as possible. So today we're going to talk about, thank you for this. Some people are already posting it on Facebook. On Facebook, I don't always get to see the names, so I apologize. I'm going to actually go ahead and log in on my iPhone so I can see the names of people who are actually joining in today. So it's very important I get to see everybody. So here we go. You might get a little bit of a, oh, there you are. Yeah, we got it. All right, good. You're all in there. So what we want to do is we want to get everybody accustomed to looking at what these contracts are going to look like, right? Contracts are a big part of the state exam. You're going to have 12 questions on the state exam that are going to relate to contracts. So I just want you guys to be familiar with them. So if you see or have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll be happy to try to help you out. We are also on Facebook Live, and we are also on YouTube. So we're on both. So either one that works good for you, just let us know. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're going to talk a little bit about this contracts class. I'm going to put myself down here in the bottom. Might get in the way every now and then, so you might see me come and go. I do have a little bit of a cold, so if I start coughing and sneezing, hopefully you can't catch it. So yeah, I'm seeing everybody on here. YouTube link, thank you for putting that out there. We've got Diana, who is helping us on the other end and making sure we get everybody out there. Flavia's in there. We've got Diera, all kinds of folks in here today. So it's going to be a great session. Now, let's talk about real estate contracts. This can be a little bit tricky, but what I want to do is I want to break this down and make it as easy as I can for you on the real estate contract side, okay? I want to make this as easy as I can. Let's talk about the types of contracts. This can kind of get confusing for people, but these are the majority of the contracts we're going to deal with. These are the types of contracts. The very first one we're going to have here is going to be listing contracts. That's when somebody comes to us and says, hey, I really want you to sell my home. We're going to do a listing contract for them. The next one is going to be a buyer brokerage agreement. That's when you have a potential buyer that's going to come up and say, listen, I would like you as a real estate professional to help me find a home. Now, a lot of times real estate brokerages don't require this. I know that I was a broker for the last 8 years, and we don't require this. However, if you have somebody that you feel that might go look for another real estate professional, you might want to lock them into a contract, because what happens is you're going to work very hard for these folks. And by you working very hard for these folks, they go out and find another real estate professional and you're out of luck, right? So if you have any concerns about whether or not your buyer is going to stick with you, have them fill out a buyer brokerage agreement. The next one's going to be option contracts. Option contracts we very rarely use. However, you need to remember them for the state exam and beyond. Now, when you see on the state exam, when it says the word option contract, this is going to be a unilateral, and I can't spell too good with the mouse, a unilateral contract, okay? Remember that, unilateral. Very important to remember. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So when you see option contract, unilateral, because the option contract basically is a person has a property and they are asking the person maybe who's living there or potentially going to buy it at a later date. They're asking them, they're going to give them an option to buy that. Only one person has to comply. The person who owns the property is giving out that permission and giving out that offer, but they do not have to come back and comply with that. Okay. Just want to make sure you understand that. Hi, Natasha. Hi, everybody. All you folks, some of you are on YouTube. It's great to see everybody. I'm trying to catch up with everybody in here, but we've got a nice group in here today. So the next one, this is a big one. This is our big one that we make all of our bread and butter on. These are going to be sale and purchase contracts. So when somebody wants to purchase a home, they're going to fill out a sale and purchase contract. Now, real estate agents are not authorized to prepare deeds, mortgages, or other legal documents. We've got to be really careful in our business that we don't overstep our boundaries and get into like an area that would be considered legal work. Okay, we want to make sure we don't do that. All right. We are also, I forgot to tell you, we're going to have a little quiz at the end of this, so it's going to really help you. There's going to be a little quiz here at the end, so it's going to help you out. Make sure we understand everything we're learning today. Okay. Very good. The things we need to know is we have to know the 4 elements of a contract, the 4 elements of a contract. So if they are asking you on the state exam, what are the 4 elements or which is one of the 4 elements, you will know them. The person must have contractual capacity. Now, what is contractual capacity? Say, for instance, somebody has Alzheimer's or someone is maybe mentally mentally disabled and they're not able to really truly sign a contract. Do they have the capacity to do that? Someone who's 8 or 9 years old, they're not going to have a mental capacity to sign a contract. So the first thing, that person has to be have the mental capacity to do so. Also, the contract there must be an offer, and that offer must have acceptance. If you just send over a contract and they do not accept it, then that is not going to be a valid contract. It's not going to be a valid contract. The third thing is legality of the object. Is what you are selling, is it legal? Now, across the state of Florida, believe it or not, there are people that are selling properties that they have actually taken. They've gotten the deed somehow. They've done some things that are not legal to get that property. That piece of property must be legal. They must own it, or that contract will not be valid. And it must be legal and objective, right? There must be something that's called consideration. What is consideration? Consideration, 9 times out of 10, is going to be the form of money, a sum of money. However, it could be something a little bit different. So if you see it on the state exam, could consideration be just money? The answer is going to be no. It could be money or something that could be converted or considered money. In other words, if somebody has a recreational vehicle or a boat or something of that aspect, that could be used as consideration. Okay, consideration. I'm going to duplicate this slide because you might see this on the state exam. What makes a valid contract? Again, contractual capacities, offer and acceptance, legality of the object, and consideration. Okay, consideration. That's going to be big. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on that? I see one question on Facebook. Is competent parties the same as one? I can't really read that totally. Is competent parties the same as one? Question. Competent parties basically is going to be somebody who has the ability to contractually get in that contract. I'm not sure what number one. Contractual capacities of the party. Yes, that's the same as that one. Yep. Competent parties. Perfect. Yep. That's the same as that number one. You got it. Very good. Okay. The next one. We're going to go over to the next one. Valuable consideration. We already talked about that. Valuable consideration, if you see this on the state exam. Valuable consideration is normally, in most cases, going to be money. However, it's not always going to be money, right? It's not always going to be money. It could be something that's measured in the value of money. Okay? All right. The next one we got. Statute of Fraud. Statute of Frauds. Statute of Fraud requires that contracts conveying an interest in real property be in writing and signed to be enforceable. So if you see this on the state exam, real estate contracts must be in writing and signed to be enforceable. Okay, must be in writing and be signed to be enforceable. Great questions everybody's given us. And I'm trying to keep up with them in the chat. Okay, so if you see on the state exam what is going to be in writing. Now, the reason why they use the statute of frauds is because they want to make sure you understand that if it's not in writing and it's not properly outlined, then it could not be enforceable in some cases in the court of law. Okay, verbal contracts, you can actually sell a home on a verbal contract. However, if you go to court and you try to fight that, then it probably would not hold up in court. So that's very important to understand the difference on that. The statute of fraud applies to purchase and sales contracts, option contracts, lease agreements, and listing agreements of more than 1 year. Now, we don't do listing agreements for more than 1 year, and we don't continue them out, but we will talk about that here shortly. Okay? Very good questions. Remember, this is going to be something that we, from our experience, is going to be something you will see, potentially see on the state exam. Real estate contracts are not required to be witnessed or notarized. However, they need to be signed, okay? But they do not have to be witnessed or notarized. Keep that in mind. Let's talk about statute of limitations. Statute of limitations. The statute of limitations designates that written contracts are enforceable for up to 5 years. Okay, 5 years. Now, verbal, oral, or parole, you might see these words as well on the state exam. Verbal or parole, they are going to be valid up to 4 years. Okay, so make sure you are very familiar with the written 5 years. Parole, verbal contracts are enforceable up to 4 years. Okay, everybody got that one? 4 and 5, 5 and 4. Okay, one thing I want you to understand on this is you've got 2 different types of contracts. Now, from our experience, we know this is going to be on the state exam. We don't know if you're going to get this question, but you've probably seen it, right? So we want to make sure we get this. Bilateral and unilateral contracts. Bilateral and unilateral contracts, okay? A bilateral contract obligates both parties to perform in accordance with the terms of the contract. A unilateral contract obligates just one person. Sorry. Sorry, I'm a little sneezing here. Okay. A unilateral contract obligates only one party to a contract or an agreement. No more sneezing. Got to stop the sneezing. Just reading some of the notes. I've seen it written as competent parties in wanting to make sure that the same. And they said yes. Yep. God bless you. Thank you guys. You're so nice. I was so happy to be able to come into work and do this. I mean, I was laying in bed the last day and I'm like, oh, I got to get up and do it. But now I'm here. I feel a lot better. So I think I'm on the other side of the cold. Okay. But thank you. So remember the word bilateral. It's pretty easy, right? This is a bicycle. How many wheels does a bicycle have? Bicycle has 2 wheels, right? Unilateral. Okay. Unilateral has 1 wheel. So what I will tell you, if you see on the state exam, you will see a question that says, is an option contract unilateral or bilateral? This is going to be unilateral, option contract, okay? Option contract. Now, the reason why, option contract, and I'm writing with my mouth, so forgive me a little bit, okay? Option contract. All right. Option contract for unilateral. Because what happens is the owner of the property will request the person and say to them, listen, if you want to purchase this home, you do this. But if the person chooses not to do it, then they don't have to. So it's a unilateral. When you sell a house, so a sale and purchase, when you buy and sell a house, both parties must do something. Okay, the seller has to do something and the buyer has to do something. The seller has to give a price, has to open up the house, has to maybe contribute some paperwork. The buyer has to put the deposit in. They have to get the inspection. So a sale and purchase is going to be a bilateral, and a unilateral contract is going to obligate just one person. Okay, I want you guys to make sure you understand that. That right there is going to definitely be something you will see on your state exam. Now, if somebody here has seen anything, whether on YouTube or whether you're on, and I like this. I'm going to go ahead. I think I can go ahead and show this. I like that when I can show. There we go. Natasha put, God bless you. That was good. Thank you, Natasha. Yeah. So a couple different questions. I'm going to try to put these up there so you can see them every now and then. But yeah, very good. Excellent questions. If you have a question, throw it up there. We'll answer it. We're going to have some time at the end too as well. So anything I can do at that point, I'm here for you. Okay, so everybody good with the bilateral and unilateral contracts? Okay, that is going to be a big one for the state exam. Now, contracts. A contract that has been signed or is not yet finished is called an executory contract. Executory contract. All right, right here, executory. If it has been finished, it's called executed. Now, let's explain exactly what that means. Now, when you go ahead and you all sign and everybody agrees to a price on a house and they say, okay, the price is going to be $350,000. Everybody signs it. Everybody's good. We're locked in. We have an executory contract. That means everybody signed it. When it goes through the process and it gets to the day of closing and keys are exchanged and everybody's done exactly what they're supposed to be doing, then at that point, it becomes an executed contract. So everybody's done exactly what they're supposed to do. That becomes an executed contract. All right. Is everybody good on that one? Just want to make sure you got the difference between that. Because I will tell you, when I got my real estate license, I wasn't exactly sure. And a lot of times people in the real estate business will call it executed contract because everybody signed it. But it's really not executed until everybody completes their obligations and does exactly what they're supposed to do. And that's usually going to be after closing, after monies have been dispersed, and everybody's living in their home like they're supposed to. Okay. Making sure we got that. All right. Very good. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to our next question. Next slide. Okay. What I want you to do is look at this and pay attention to these two letters at the end of each word. Okay. Anytime you see this, I want you to understand that the offeror is the person giving. Okay. In this case, I believe she's going to be the offeror. She's giving me the binder. She's giving me the binder. The offeree, EE, is the one who is receiving. Okay. That's the one who's receiving. So a lot of times people like to remember that is the offeror and the offeree. Okay. The offeree, receive, has two E's in it. Okay. Boom, boom. That's how they like to remember that. The offeror is the one making the offer. Okay. So just remember that when you see that on a state exam, it doesn't become confusing, because it can be. Now, some people get a little bit tied up around when it talks about mortgages. Okay. Because mortgages are a little bit different. People don't really understand that the bank gives you a mortgage, but you give the mortgage back to the lender. So you, on a mortgage, are going to be the offeror of the mortgage, because you're giving it back to them for them to hold in case you default on it. So if you see the word mortgage, the offeree is going to be the lender, and the offeror is going to be the person who is the borrower. Okay. Don't want to confuse you on that, but just remember that. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, the explanation really helps a little bit. Margaret, yes. So remember, offeror, offeree. Person given is the offeror. The person receiving is the offeree. On a mortgage, remember, a bank or a lender gives you a mortgage. You in return give that mortgage back. So you are the offeror on a mortgage, and your lender is the offeree. Okay, they give you money, but that's not the same as the mortgage. Okay, mortgage is just a piece of paper that you give back. Once you pay your mortgage, they release that. Okay, just want to make sure you get that. All right, let's go on to the next one. When a contract is terminated, okay, a contract is terminated when any of the following occurs. Performance, someone fails to perform. Okay, what does performance mean? Someone fails to do something, basically. If you have a contract and somebody doesn't put in the escrow money, somebody doesn't do the inspections on time, somebody doesn't help out with the paperwork, they fail to perform. So that contract can be terminated. Mutual rescission. Mutual rescission. What is that? When both people say, we don't want to go through with this contract, we're going to be out. Both people agree to back out of it. They can do that. Impossibility of performance. Impossibility of performance. What would be impossibility of performance? Impossibility of performance would be, for instance, just recently we had a huge hurricane down where I live, Naples, Florida, Fort Myers Beach, all that. Well, guess what? A lot of homes were ruined and destroyed, and there's no way that that contract could go through because the house is no longer there or it's not available to sell. Okay, so that would be the impossibility of performance. Lapse of time. You have to remember on all these contracts, there's always like a timeline or a time frame when they have. Okay, so they have a time frame. It's essential that you pay attention to those time frames, understand those time frames, and make sure you stay within them, because if you don't, that contract can be terminated and it can come back with you. Your goal as a real estate sales professional is to keep that timeline in order to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay? Just want to make sure you got that down. Okay. All right. Now, bankruptcy is one. Bankruptcy. If somebody goes bankrupt during the process of that contract, whether it be the buyer or seller, that contract can be terminated. Now, you can sell homes that the person is bankrupt. However, you usually have to work and go through the attorney who goes through the judge that allows for the sale of that house to be sold. Okay. But if somebody goes bankrupt, that's going to be a contract that's going to be terminated. And if you have a breach, basically a breach is someone fails to perform and do what they're supposed to do. That's going to be a breach of the contract. I've had very few of these, so it's potentially going to pop up, but once in a while it does. Okay, Facebook question real quick. I had a question on my test yesterday, but can't really remember the way it was worded. But basically, both parties signed the contract, and they were supposed to close on the 15th, but the seller didn't want to sell the house and tried to revoke the contract May 10th. I think the question asked if they were able to revoke the contract, or is the contract still valid? Based on the question, it would be a still valid contract. One person cannot just revoke the contract. They can't just say, I'm out of it. There's going to have to be a little bit more to it than that. So I don't really know exactly, but based on what you're saying, yeah, somebody can't just back out and say, I don't want to do this at the very end. So if that's the question. I had a question about termination of contract. They worded it very tricky. Yes. No problem. If you can't remember the question, don't worry about it. You can always ask me message me, D'Area. No problem. I'll help you out with that. See if we can figure out exactly what they're talking about. But good questions. Okay. But again, a buyer or seller cannot just back out of a contract. Okay. There's a lot of rules that they have to abide by. Okay. Very good. The seller trying to back out. The seller could potentially back out if there was a breach or performance issue, but they just can't back out for no apparent reason. Okay, so there's a lot of little nuances in there that could be taking place. Good questions. Some breach of contract legal remedies. These are the things you're going to need to know for the exam. The 4 legal remedies for breach of contract are specific performance. In other words, if somebody breaches the contract, it could go to court and the judge could tell them they must perform, or they're going to be in breach of contract and they could pay a lot of money. Liquidated damages. The judge could order them to pay money. Rescission. Okay, that's basically when everybody finally says, okay, this is not going to work. Let's both back out of the deal, and we're both clear. Compensatory damages. Okay, how much money will it cost them? They might have to pay for backing out. Had a guy one time that was purchasing the house. He wanted to back out. He said he couldn't find another place for his mother, so he wanted to get out of the deal. Unfortunately, we were like 3 days from closing. He had to close on the house, or he would really potentially have a situation where he could lose thousands of dollars in a lawsuit. So again, these contracts that we don't write them up, we fill them out, we get people to sign them, but they're very, very solid, and it's very difficult for people to get out of these without losing a lot of money. Usually it's going to be the escrow money or the deposit money, that type of thing, okay? Assignment. When you see the word assignment, basically it refers to transfer from the assignor to the assignee in rights and duties under the contract. So if you have a contract and there's a box checked on the contract that says this contract could be assigned, somebody could go under contract, sign it, and they could transfer it to another person, okay, another person. Now, normally, the original person would be still required to follow the rules unless they get what is called a novation, letter of novation. This is what you see this word. So I'm going to go back to this real quick. Assignment is when another person will pick up and it's transferred to the new assignee. So if you see that on the state exam, it's transferred to the new assignee. However, because it's assigned doesn't relieve the original person from any obligation unless they get what is called a novation. A novation substitutes the new party for the original one. The assignment doesn't necessarily do that. The novation does, okay? Amber. Okay, go back a little bit. Closing date was June 15th, and they canceled May 30th. It asked if that was legal or what would happen if in this situation. It was the seller. Okay, a little bit more information I need on the question, but normally a person, either a buyer or a seller, doesn't matter, either one, they cannot back out of a contract without some sort of legal justification to do so. Does that make sense? In other words, if they're in the contract and they're going to close 2 weeks from now, they can't just say, oh, I'm backing out. Now, if they choose to back out, they will potentially put their escrow deposit at risk. So that's why if they have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 at escrow, I've seen people back out, but they lost that money in escrow. So I'm not sure if that's exactly how it was worded on the state exam. But I'll work on that. If you guys can try to narrow down the question just a little bit more, I'll be happy to help you guys. No problem at all. Okay? Be very easy on that. Okay. Very good. Is everybody good with the novation? Everybody good with the novation? Novation is usually going to be a letter, and it's gonna substitute the original person to the new person. Okay? There we go. All right. This is where it gets a little bit tricky for some people. Let's talk about the different types of contracts that we have. The different types of contracts. Now, contracts are our livelihood, right? We have different types of contracts. The first one we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about listing contracts. Let's go ahead and talk about the listing contract. Now, a listing contract is, we talked about it really briefly earlier on, but really a listing contract is when we're going to sell somebody else's home, right? Now, what I want you to remember is all contracts, whether it be a listing contract, whatever, it belongs to the broker. It does not belong to us as a sales associate, okay? It doesn't belong to us as a real estate professional unless we are the broker. It belongs to the broker that you work for. So think of it like this. You have a big umbrella, okay? You have an umbrella. Your broker is going to be responsible for all contracts within that office. So listing contracts, addendums, any type of paperwork that you do, it's really the property and the ownership of all those contracts are going to be by the broker. Okay, so you are an agent underneath your broker, so you're allowed to do those contracts. So again, just so you guys remember that, if you see it on the state exam, you'll be familiar with that. Okay, let's talk about the listing contract. Written listing contracts must include the following information. They must have a definite expiration date. When will they expire? Okay, they all have to have when they're going to expire. They also must, okay, I'm going to do a little highlight here. They must have when they'll expire. They must include the street address, which is very important. Very, very, very important is the legal description of the property. Okay, now a street address can change. There's probably, I don't know, I'd say probably 50,100 main streets in the United States. But the legal address, the legal description, not legal address, the legal description, there's only one of them. Okay, that's why the legal description of a property is extremely important. Okay, extremely important. Believe it or not, somebody from our office, past office, actually sold, or a friend of ours from our office actually sold a property that wasn't even the right property because they put the wrong legal address on there. So that was a pretty hard thing to overturn. Whoops, big mistake, right? Okay, so definitely don't want that to happen. Definitely don't want that to happen. So price and terms. What's the price and terms? Fee of the commission is another one. Fee or commission. What's the fee and commission? And also the signature of the owner. It's very important you get the right owner, right? Because a lot of times people will come in and say, I want you to sell my house. Well, they don't truly own it. You have to find out who owns that. Now, there's a thing, there's a couple documents that you may see, and I need you to run attorney of fact, or there's a couple documents out there that you will see that could be used in lieu of the original purpose. Okay, the attorney of fact, trying to remember all the different ones. There's a couple things that you'll see that people will show you documents. They'll say, hey, listen, I own this, or I have the right to sell it, but please, please, please make sure you go and present those documents to your broker and your attorney for your brokerage before you get into that, okay? Because we don't want you to be listing somebody's property that is not theirs, okay? Make sure we are aware of that, okay? Copy of contract must be given to the owners within 24 hours of execution. Now, once you execute that contract, you've got that listing contract completed, you must give the sellers a copy of that contract within 24 hours. Okay. Another thing that's very important, the contract may not feature or have an automatic renewal clause. Okay. You cannot have an automatic renewal clause. Now, an automatic renewal clause would be like, after 6 months, it's automatically going to go another 6 months. And then after that 6 months, it's going to go another one. You have to redo the paperwork again, and you have to have that document re-signed, revalidated, and redone. You cannot have an automatic renewal clause. Everybody good with that? Okay? Very good, very good. Any questions so far? Any more questions? Had some good ones. Okay. Now, let's talk about the different types of contracts. You have an open listing contract. An open listing contract is given to one or more brokers, and the seller reserves the right to sell the property to list with other brokers. Only the broker who sells the property is entitled to commission. So when you see the word open, it means just like that, open. Okay, it's open to everybody. Okay, you're going to do the hard work. You're going to put it in MLS, and then anybody who sells that home gets that commission, not you. So this is very rarely used. It's an open listing contract. When you see the word open, it allows the seller to sell the property to whomever he wants. And also it allows other brokers to do so as well. Now, this is not beneficial to us, and we very rarely do these. We very rarely do these because if we do these open listings, we usually have a tendency to do all the work on them, right? We'll go ahead, we'll do the pictures, we'll do everything. Guess what? If somebody else comes in with their own buyer, you're totally going to be put out to the side, and you're not going to be able to get any commission on that. So very rarely are those used. These are called open listings. An exclusive agency listing. Now, an exclusive agency listing is given to one broker, and the seller reserves the right to sell the property. So basically, that person comes to you and says, I want you to sell my house for me. I want you to list it. However, I want to reserve the right to sell it on my own if I find a buyer, thus excluding you from getting paid for that commission. Okay. Some people will do that. I've seen this happen a couple times, but rarely do we do those. That's not beneficial to us because, again, we're doing all the work. So again, an exclusive agency means that real estate brokerage has that listing. So we're good as far as that goes. But the seller, if somebody's walking down the street and they see he or she sees somebody who wants to buy the house, that seller can work with them on their own, and you'll be totally pushed away from the commission. Again, better than the open listing. Remember the open listing, that's anybody who sells the house. Exclusive agency it's the agency's listing, but you get it. But if the seller finds somebody on their own, they can do it. Okay. The one we want is the exclusive right of sale listing. Exclusive right of sale listing. Now, exclusive right of sale is when you get everything, no matter who sells the home or how is it sold, you're going to get your commission. An exclusive right of sale listing is given to one broker who is assured the commission regardless of who sells the property. Everybody got that one? An exclusive right of sale listing is given to one broker and who is assured the commission regardless of who sells the property. So the owner could sell it. Anybody could sell it. Whoever sells it, you are going to get that commission from it. Okay. Now, if there's another agent that brings in a buyer, you're going to have to split that commission depending on how it's set up on the MLS. Okay. Everybody good with that? Everybody good with that? Real quick before I forget, we have this guide. Diana, if you could put that up on Facebook as well, the link. I want to show you this guide before I forget. Whoops, I'm drawing all over my board here. Let me see here. Real quick, we have this guide, and today, if you get this guide, and it's a great book. Before I forget, if you get this guide, you'll see the link. It'll be on the Florida Pro, and it's digital. It is digital, but the reason why I like it to be in digital is it's got everything you need. There's a quizzes, tests, there's formulas, everything you're going to need on here. But the reason why I want you to get it digitally is you can put it on your phone, you can put it on your iPad, you can search it, you can study it. It's got 20 different quizzes on it. It's awesome. If you get it today, you can put it on. If you put Cram, the password is Cram, or the coupon code is 2022. I'm going to put this in here. You get 30% off. Okay, 30% off. So it comes out to like $18, but it's great. You get a couple extra benefit guides as well. So very good piece of information to help you. Okay, just wanted to make sure you got that. I'll stick around at the end. I think Diana put it up for us on there. That's very good. Thank you, Diana. And you can get that. All right, let's keep going. Just want to do that before I forget. Now, a net listing. What is a net listing? Let's see if we can figure this one out. A net listing is a listing where a potential seller wants to get a dollar amount. For instance, you've got somebody who comes up to you and says, I want to get $250,000 from this house. Whatever you sell it for, you can have the commission. Okay. Now, the only thing you can't do is you can't go up to these people and say your house is worth your house is only worth $250,000 and you list it for $600,000 and you get the difference. You have to be very honest with these people. That's one thing. But a net listing is the seller is requiring a certain amount of money after everything is paid. Okay, after everything is paid. A net listing is created when a seller agrees to sell a property for a stated acceptable minimum amount. The broker retains all commissions, all proceeds from the sale after the costs of sale are paid, and the seller receives the agreed upon amount. Okay. Good question. Yes. Does it quiz you for each section? Not just, yes, there's 20 in the book. I'm sorry, I'm going to put this back up. I kind of had this thing off for you. Yes. It has quizzes for each one of the sections on here. Yep. Perfect. Okay. Sorry about that. I'll put it back up so you guys can see that. Net listings aren't that common. A lot of times contractors will do it, Natasha. Good question. But not that common, but sometimes you'll have a contractor or you'll have somebody that comes up and says, hey, I want to get $150,000 from this house. That's all I want to get. You guys keep the rest. Now that could be good or bad, right? You might only end up getting $5,000, but you might end up getting $50,000, depending on what it is. The only exception is you can't be like way above. You can't be going to an elderly couple and saying, hey, by the way, your house is only worth $125,000, but you list it for $450,000 and you keep all that. That would be not dealing fairly and honestly, which is one of our big things in real estate. Okay. So what we want to do is this person is wanting $250,000. So say we sell the house for $300,000, right? $300,000. Now somebody brought themselves in a broker. So another person brought in a buyer. So we got a commission now of $50,000 total. Okay. Now, after everything's paid, there's going to be some fees and whatnot. We'll probably split that. So each one of us will potentially end up with $20,000 on this deal. Okay. That would be pretty good. And that would be reasonable. Okay. Remember, your splits are based on what you have in the MLS, your agreement in the MLS. Okay. Does that make sense? But not really that common. We don't see a lot of net listings, but they do happen. Okay. Everybody good on that one? Everybody comfortable? So let's go back real quick. I want to go back. Open listings, basically not too good for brokers because anybody could sell it and get paid for it. Okay. Exclusive agency, the agency gets commission, but the buyer can find somebody, then they would be taken out of it, the picture. Exclusive right of sale, this is the good one for us. That means no matter what, the brokerage is going to get the commission. Net listing is the person wants to get a net amount at the end of the day. Okay. I just got a thing. Just send me a email. I'm not sure who purchased it. Flavia purchased it, the guide, but did not download. Just send me an email, Flavio, and my email is. Let me see here. I'll write it in for you. No problem. I'll take care of it for you. Probably refreshing too. We will take care of you. Did it give you a receipt? If you buy one and it doesn't work, just let me know. I'll make sure it's taken care of. We got you taken care of. Okay. Real quick, who determines what kind of listing a property should be under? Okay, yeah, on the receipt, it should have a place to download, another link there to download it as well. Try that one on the receipt. Try that. And it should download right from there. Perfect. If it doesn't, no problem. I'll take care of it. Okay, who determines what listing it is? Normally, it's going to be the brokerage working with the seller. So the seller, in most cases, is going to be using this exclusive right to sell. This is normally going to be the one, unless they come up to you and say they want something different. But normally, it's going to be an exclusive right to sell. But mostly, your brokerage is going to say this is the type of listings that we do. Okay, very good, excellent. Buyer-broker agreement. Buyer-brokerage agreement is an employment contract between a broker and a buyer. Okay, so remember we talked about this a little bit earlier. When you have a buyer who is really excited to buy a house and they come to you and say, will you show me houses? You can do an agreement with them and say, listen, if you're going to buy a house, you're going to have to do it through me. And if you do buy something, I need to get paid the commission. Okay, I need to get paid the commission. Now, that commission comes from either the sale of the house, or they're going to have to give you that commission on their own. Now, I personally don't do buyer-broker agreements. However, I would recommend it if you are working with somebody who you just don't feel real comfortable, that potentially they might go try to find somebody else to work with. But again, a buyer-broker agreement is the brokerage. Remember, the brokerage owns all those agreements, right? I'm reading some of these things. The buyer brokerage agreement is an employment contract between the broker and the buyer. Okay, between the broker and the buyer. All right. So if you're very locked into getting these people a home, but you're not really 100% sure that they're going to use you as a real estate professional, make sure you get them to sign one of these, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to spend 4 or 5 weekends in a row and they go off to another real estate professional and use them. Then you lose out on that deal. Okay, very good, excellent. Everybody good on that one? As far as the book goes, I'd see some comments going on. I can't do it right now, Flavia, but I'll get it to you as soon as we're done here. Okay, no problem. Got it? All set? We'll help you out. No problem. An option contract, remember we talked about that. An option contract is a unilateral contract to keep open for a specified period of time an offer to sell or lease real property. Okay. The property owner, the optionor, grants a prospective buyer, the optionee, the exclusive right to buy the property within a specified period for a specified price for terms. Remember, real quick, in the chat, tell me what an option contract is. Is it a unilateral? We can see it right here, or a bilateral. Okay, unilateral or bilateral. I want to see in the chat. Unilateral or a bilateral? Chat it up. Good. Way to go. I'm gonna put it up there. Yay. Nice job. Unilateral, right? Unilateral. Definitely need to know that one. Good job, everybody. Remember, the property owner grants a prospective buyer, the optionee, the exclusive right to buy the property within a specified period of time for price and for terms. Okay? Very good. Parties to a sale and purchase contract. Parties to a sale and purchase contract. Remember these names. The vendor. Okay? The vendor. They're the seller. They're the ones giving them the home. Of course, the vendee's paying it. But remember, the vendor is the seller and the vendee is the buyer. The vendee is the buyer. Real estate sales contracts are bilateral contracts. Something I want you to remember. Bilateral, okay, because it requires two people to do something. So I'm going to do my favorite drawing here, and I'm going to draw this, and it's a bike, okay? This is a bicycle. Bilateral. It requires two people to do something in the contract. So that's going to be bilateral. Everybody good with that? Okay, very good, very good. Contracts must disclose material facts to a potential buyer, even if the seller is selling the property as is. Something we must know. If a seller is going to disclose material facts, the seller must disclose material facts, even if it's sold as is. Some people would think, well, the house is sold as is. Doesn't really matter. If there's a crack in the foundation, if there's something that's potentially going to be a problem, that needs to be sold as is. But that material defect, if it affects the value, it must be sold, and it must be sold. But it must be disclosed that there's a crack in the foundation, that there's a potential problem. If it impacts the value of that property, that must be disclosed. Is everybody good with that? Okay, everybody good with that one? Just want to make sure you're good with that. Now, also on the contracts, radon gas disclosure is required before or at the time of executing real estate sales and lease contracts. Does everybody know what radon gas is? If you do not know what radon gas is, basically it's gas that builds up in the shale or the rocks underneath a home or underneath land. Now that gas builds up, and what it does, it creates something that's called radon gas. Now radon gas is known to possibly prevent health problems. Okay, so this disclosure is normally fixed or embedded inside the contract, but if it's not, a disclosure must be given. So if you see that on the state exam, remember, a radon gas disclosure is required before or at the time of executing the contract. Also, lease contracts. If someone's going to lease that property, that has to be disclosed as well. Okay. Another one we know about, hopefully from our 63-hour course, a lead-based paint disclosure. Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, that's on there, right? Which one, Natasha? Was it the lead-based paint or was it the radon gas one? A lead-based paint disclosure must be given A lead-based paint disclosure must be given to buyers and renters of residential units built before 1978. Make sure we lock that in, 1978. Excuse me. 1978. I promise I'm not going to drop. So built before 1978. Okay. Oh, so you saw both of them on there. That's good. We're hitting home runs then. Radon gas and lead-based paint. Very good. So, yeah. You saw them on both. Very good. Now, a couple things. This is going to be, I think, our last slide here. A couple things on contracts. We need to know this. Misrepresentation is the misstatement of fact or the omission. Does everybody know what the omission is? Failure to give that fact out. So you basically omit it. So the omission or concealment of a factual matter. In other words, if somebody comes up to you, you've got a seller, and somebody comes up and says, oh yeah, I've got a nice house here. I will tell you there's a huge crack in the foundation, but what I usually do is I just cover it up with a rug. Okay, don't worry about it. that is going to be something that has to be disclosed because that will potentially affect the value of the home. Okay. That has to be disclosed. If you know there's going to be a super highway built behind a house, that has to be disclosed as well. You cannot omit. Okay. You cannot omit something. Okay. That's big, big no-no. Yes, omission, leave out. Now, there's something called a community development district. This is called a CDD. Now, when communities build, what they often do is they'll build and they'll put infrastructure in. They'll put sewer, water, all kinds of things, and they'll use the county and the county's funds to assist in putting these infrastructure in. When somebody moves in, they will have a fee that's called a CDD. They will have to pay that fee. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to prevent anybody from moving into a development or some place, and they're trying to prevent them from moving in and finding out later on that, oh my gosh, I have another bill or another fee that I got to pay. It's called a community development district. This will definitely need to be disclosed or need to be disclosure of how long this is going to last. Usually it's on the tax bill, but sometimes it goes up to 30 years. And how much is it going to be? Okay. So community development district. Okay. And the seller must also disclose to the buyer any pending building code violations. Is there any pending building code violations on the home? If there is, that must be disclosed. So these things are very important. Make sure you know these for the state exam. Let's go over misrepresentation. That's the omission or failure to leave out information. Omission, leave out. Community Development District, CDD, big, big no-no. Not a no-no, big, big no-no. If you don't put it in, you need to make sure they know that's there. In Collier County, I believe, where I live, in Collier County, we've got about 14 different communities that have CDDs. Definitely need to make sure that your buyer knows they're buying in a place that has a CDD. The seller must also disclose any pending code violations. Okay. All right. Let's do something really fun. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this real quick. Everybody good with me? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share with you a quiz. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and share with you a quiz. And what I want you guys to do is I want you to do in the session, in the chat, I want you to answer the questions in there, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do this here real quick. And we'll go through this with you guys, all right? Now, this is going to be contracts quiz. We didn't cover this too much, okay? I'm going to come back over here real quick and take Natasha's comment off. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to answer this the best you can. Now, please do so in the chat. If you can't do it in the chat, just kind of go through it on your own. And let's see if we can answer this first one. An offer is not terminated by which of the following? Which of the following? I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you. Anybody know on this one? Anybody know? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and answer for you. An offer is not terminated by which of the following? Good one. I can't see, but Margaret with a D. Good job, Margaret. I'm going to put that up there. D. She did put a little question mark on it. Natasha had counter offer. But the answer on this one is going to be D. This was a little bit tricky. Now I'm going to explain it to you. Okay. Now, when you get an offer, as soon as an offer is made and somebody counter offers it, that's going to terminate that original offer. If the offer is accepted, that's it. There's no termination. It means it's accepted. It's good to go. If it's rejected, that means it's terminated as well. But if it's an extension, they might need a little bit longer. That does not terminate that offer. Okay? Okay, does not terminate that offer. All right, let's go ahead. Nice job, everybody. Let's go ahead with question number 2. A valid real estate sales contract requires what? What does a valid sales real estate sales contract require? Let's see if you can get this one. A valid sales contract requires what? Dieria, nice job. Priyanka. Sorry if I get some of the names right and wrong. Way to go, Angie. Good job. Nice job, everybody. Margaret. Some of you guys put C or D in there, okay? This one's going to be, does it require witnessing? No. Must be acknowledged only by one person. Contains all the essential elements in writing. Great job, Natasha. Very good. Excellent. Okay. A contract that is not in writing is called what? A contract that is not in writing is called what? We went over this one. Is it a parole, executory, unilateral, formal? A contract that is not in writing is called what? Yay, that's going to be a parole. What else is it called? It's called verbal or oral too, right? So you might see that on the state exam. It could be verbal or oral. If it's not in writing. Now, let me ask you real quick for the questions. How many years is a verbal parole or a verbal parole contract or oral contract good for? How many years? Does anybody remember? Valid for, I should say. Does everybody remember that one? 4. Nice job. Way to go. 4 years. Way to go, everybody. Good job, Margaret. You're on it. Nice job. You guys are doing fantastic. Okay, this question. A real estate associate must disclose to a prospective buyer which of the following must be disclosed? Which of the following must be disclosed? All right, you guys are getting this one all correct. Very good. Remember, if the seller has been diagnosed with HIV, not important. Families of racial groups live together, definitely not important. Former owner committed suicide in the home, no. But if you have a family room addition that does not comply with the building code, that must be disclosed. Okay, very good. Nice job, everybody. Let's go with this next one. Normally, the most advantageous type of listing from the broker's point of view is what? From the broker's point of view, which is one of the best types of listings? Nice job, everybody. Yes. Why is the exclusive right of sale so big? Why is that so important? Remember, the exclusive right of sale is the one that gives you no matter who sells it or how it's sold, that brokerage is going to get the commission. And normally that's going to be you, the one who listed it. Nice job on that. Okay. Very good. You guys are doing great. Okay, let's go to the next one. Which statement is false concerning the lead-based paint disclosure requirements? Which statement is false concerning the lead-based paint disclosure requirements? This goes back to the other one. Thanks. Good job, Mike. Way to go, Natasha. Excellent. Okay, someone type in what year it is. Type it in, not just the A, B, or C. Type in what year. Built before what year? I'll put it up because I want you guys to lock it in. All right, there we go. That's from Margaret. That's from Margaret Roberts. And this, yes, nice. You guys are all getting credit for this. Yes. Before 1978. If they give you the question, is it 1978? The answer is no. It's before 1978, right? Okay. Just want to make sure you got that. Nice job on that, everybody. Good job. Okay. Similar to an option contract, if a car dealer offers a one-way incentive to his salespeople, which type of contract is this? The first one who writes it out, I'll put it up because I think you're all right. I just want to put it up. Oh, Natasha gets it. Natasha's on it. Way to go. Nice. That's Margaret. Way to go. Everybody got that one. Let's unilateral or bilateral. It's going to be unilateral, right? So the reason why you might see this on the state exam written this way, a car dealer, let me go ahead and explain this to you. If you have a car dealership and you have the sales manager says to his salespeople, if you sell 5 cars this month, I'm going to give you $1,000. Well, guess what? That's unilateral. If they choose to sell 5 cars, they get the 1,000. But if they choose not to, they might not have a job, but ultimately it's a unilateral. It's a one-way deal. They don't have to if they don't want to. So if you see that on the state exam, that's an example of one. What I want you to remember, though, is option contract goes with, and type in the box, option contract is definitely unilateral. Okay, unilateral. That's what I need you to remember as well. All right. Let's go with this one. A seller lists a residential lot. She demands a minimum amount of cash at closing. This is a what? A seller lists a residential lot. She demands a minimum amount of cash at closing. This is a what? This should be easy for you guys. Remember, they require a certain amount of money when they close. They say, listen, I don't care what you sell it for. I want my money at the end. What's it going to be? Doing good, Margaret. You got it. Doing a nice job. Very good. This is a net listing. Net listing. Great job. Way to go. Net listing. Remember, think of that word net. That means that's what they're going to net at the end. That's all they really worry about. Commission, any of that stuff. They said, listen, I want $250,000 at the end of this whole deal to go into my bank. Everything above and beyond, the brokerage can have it. Okay? Nice job. You're doing good. All right. What essential element is necessary for a contract to be valid? What essential element is necessary for a contract to be valid? Good faith deposit, signature of 2 witnesses, offer and acceptance, notarization. Mike, looks like Mike got this one. Whoop. It changed on me so quick. Nice job, Mike. Way to go, buddy. Good job. Daria, nice job. Way to go. You guys are doing good. Offer and acceptance. Last but not least, the Residential Lead-Based Paint Hazard Reduction Act deals with what homes built before what year? Deals with homes built before what year? I like that. Someone put easy on there. Easy one. That's because you guys are looking at it. Nice job. 78. That's a good question, Derek. Yeah, these are fairly easy, but you'll see them on the state exam. Just try to read, and the best thing to do on the state exam is look for clutch words. Like when we talk about option contract, look for unilateral. Okay, those are going to be very key. Make sure you go over your vocabulary. I don't know, Dearia, if you've taken the Cram exam, but that's definitely going to be a big one in there. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is I'm going to go ahead and get something real quick for you before I forget. Second, bear with me. Two seconds here. Okay, here is the link for our next class. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and correct this exam for you guys. So you guys I know you all did 100. You got 100. Now, the good thing about it, I guess I didn't put in my answers for these. Whoops. That was my mistake on that. There we go. Very good. Got 9 out of 10. I just clicked the wrong one. Okay. But I just put the link to our Cram class, and our Cram class is pretty much like this. It's a little bit faster paced. The questions are a little bit more difficult. We go through each section just like this. So it's a fun time. We really have a great time. We learn so much. But like we did in this one, this is just one section. We try to hit all the big ones, the major ones that you're going to see on the state exam. So if you can sign up, please do so, okay? A lot of exposure, a lot of questions. Hit that link. I don't know if you got it, if you got the link. If you didn't, the session is going to be, it's 8 hours. So the Cram session is 8 hours. The next one we're going to have is on December 27th and 28th. And we break it down to 2 evenings. And it's on Zoom. So you can kind of come and go as you want. It's a great course. We have a lot of fun time on there. We go through each quiz like this. If you're not a member of our group, make sure you become a member of our group. I'm going to go ahead and put that in as well. I think you probably are, the Facebook group. Let's see. Make sure I get this in here right. Command C. And yeah, there we go. So make sure you become a member of our group. There we go. A lot of fun in there. So we do our classes, and we just a great time. The great thing about our Cram classes is once you sign up one time, you sign up once, you can keep coming until you pass your test. So that's a great thing about it. So you got no stress. Our next one is on just after Christmas, and then we have another one. It's going to be coming up, and I'll give you that one. That's on January 14th. That's going to be a Saturday, a full Saturday. It's a long day, but I will tell you that we all seem to have fun in there. We have a lot of jokes, laughs. Usually I'm a little bit more funny. I just got a little bit of a cold today. So this is the one that's going to be in January. So if you want to do January's class, You can do January's class right here. If you want to do the 27th, if you want to do the 27th and 28th and January, just sign up for the 27th and 28th and then let me know via email. And we love it. Thanks. Someone, Margaret likes my job. I like that. I feel bad today because I'm a little bit under the weather. I was like, I'm going to make this cram session. And we have a lot more fun. But again, it's a good time and we learn a lot and you guys are great. Again, I think just one person said they had a hard time with getting into the book. If you click on the receipt, I'll give you a phone call as well. So don't worry, I can make sure you get it. What's the link? The Facebook. Let me see if I can get the Facebook link into you right now. Just give me 2 seconds before I go off. Let me get the link to you. I'm multitasking here. You guys got me Okay, this is going to be the one coming up for I just put it in there. Okay, the book link to purchase, I'll get that for you right now, Margaret. If for some reason it doesn't download, just email me. It's not usually a problem. Sometimes if you're on your iPhone and you try to download it on the iPhone, you might have to go to the receipt to download it. But I'll make sure you get it. Hang tight. I'll get you the book here just a second. I just want to make sure you get the discount. Okay. Let's bring that up. The book. Facebook. Make sure you use this Cram 2022 to get your pass, to get your discount. Okay, that works out good. And for whatever reason, hey, we're family, so don't ever think that if you're not getting something you're supposed to have, you can contact me. I'm a real person. I'm easy to get a hold of, so it's not a big problem. You guys have been great tonight. Thanks for bearing with me with my cold. I had so much fun. You guys are great. A lot of good participation. I appreciate it. We're gonna do it again, a lot more. Bear with us, and we'll. If you're having a little bit of trouble, you can also reach out to me. I can do some tutoring for you. The links in the Facebook group. Again, I'll take good care of you. I'll throw in some extra stuff, materials, things like that, to really guide you in the right way. Because some people do have a little bit of a hard time to get through some of the things because it's like learning a foreign language, and we understand that. So we're here for you. Everybody good? Anybody got any questions? Just put them in here. I got a couple minutes. Don't worry about it. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much. Does everybody have all the? Thank you. Get well. I appreciate it. I'm getting better. I feel a little bit better. So that's a good thing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. I'm going to sign off. You guys need me, you can message me. I am, and I'll give you a call if you need anything. All right. Sounds good. Have a good one.